Yes.
Okay, I'm going to call the Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union School Board meeting to order at 6:01. Any changes, additions to the agenda? Approval of the minutes, March 23rd, 2026. I will take a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, we'll take a voice vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions?
Aye.
I abstain.
Was that,
Elizabeth.
okay,
And
And Hannah.
And Hannah.
okay. Oh, I'd like to point out, Elizabeth, I like your hair. It's sort of an upgrade. Update, I mean. It looks really nice.
Thank you.
Public participation. Public comment is not legally required, but we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns over issues. Through these meetings, our board models for our students how to conduct public discourse, and that the board and members of our community can approach controversial issues in a civil and constructive manner and can demonstrate mutual respect. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designated for discussion. Please start by identifying yourself and what town you reside in. Any public participation. Brooklyn, I'm seeing this as public participation. I'd like to introduce Brooklyn Gramlin. She's here to participate in the HHB discussion. And I'd like to welcome her. You want to say anything about this process or yourself, Brooklyn?
I go to school at Windsor High School. This is important to me because I feel like we should have good systems in place around bullying and the like. So but that's really all I have to share, and thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very excited for you to be here. I'd have to say, Brooklyn, as part of my public comment, the last time we had a student member at the Mount Escutney School Board, his insights were very powerful and affected me and my opinion on certain matters several times. So.
All right. Well, I'm hoping I can, help as well.
Welcome again. Is there any other public comments? Okay. Moving right along. Policy discussions followed by motions if needed. D23, instructional practices and access to curriculum material. I will take a motion to approve this policy.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Okay. Many changes in this. This is the third reading. Looks like things have been radically simplified. Is the red is what's being added. So is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so simplified is not the right word. Clarified would be a better word. In reading this, it and Bridget can jump in on this, is that this really follows a lot of the work the state is doing.
Right.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. I will take, seeing this is a policy, we'll go around and take a voice vote, not a voice vote, a roll call vote. Okay. Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Is Elizabeth here? Elizabeth.
Yes.
I'm here. I vote
Me?
aye.
Oh, yes. Hi. You're sitting right next to me.
Aye.
This eye is not working tonight. Amy? Amy here?
Aye.
Okay. Megan?
Aye.
Heather? Didn't see her.
She's not here.
Okay. Hannah?
Aye.
Stefan?
Beth. She goes by Beth.
Beth.
Schwartz, yes.
Aye.
Portland.
Okay. Anne Marie? Okay.
Sarah.
John?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Okay. D16, and if I get the order wrong, let me know. Student cell phones. And this is the third reading. There was a discussion about some changes or definitions. Was that all done? I think at one point someone wanted some clarification. I believe it might have been John.
So I was at that part of the Hartford Forum
Yeah.
last meeting. So what Larry shared with me was that the board wanted to see draft procedures,
Okay,
which we can walk through.
that's right. Do we have those?
They're linked in the agenda.
Okay.
Down below.
Okay. So I will take a motion to pass this agenda.
Policy.
Yeah.
Agenda.
Policy,
I'm sorry.
yes. I will take a motion to approve this policy.
So
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Nope. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Mhm.
And just say good luck to administrators. So, okay. Sarah, how do you vote?
Aye, sorry, I was on the draft. Thank you. Aye.
That's okay. John?
aye.
Seth?
Aye.
Hannah?
Aye.
Other? Megan?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Elizabeth?
Aye. And I have a comment at the end.
Okay. Liz?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Passes. Elizabeth, your comment.
Thanks. I would really love to see a plain language version of this that the board could look at, and then once the board has looked at it, I think it should be included in the student handbook for next year.
The policy or procedure?
Both.
Procedures.
You both, sort of a Cliff Notes.
Like that, we're not, no cell phones are allowed in school. Spell
Yeah.
about, that's it.
Yeah,
Quick notes.
I think that's a good idea, Elizabeth. And so it not so much, it presents the policy, but it presents
Yeah,
expectations
expectations.
Yeah.
in a way that students and parents can relate to it.
The current ones are in the handbook.
Yeah.
And so,
I also would ask that on an electronic version of the handbook, that there be provided links to the statutes that are at the end of the policy.
yep.
It's reasonable. Okay, is that it, Elizabeth?
That was it.
Okay, thank you. And cardiac emergency response plan, I will take a motion to approve this policy.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Did have a question or suggestion. I don't know if the policy itself is the place for it, but under what number? The training part, number 5 for staff training. Is there anything that could be put in there that can it be offered to all staff? Like if there is a staff member who's going to provide the training anyways, do all staff get the opportunity to undergo CPR AED training if they want it? Or is it just those selected for the emergency response team?
I mean, anybody could take it, but there's a fee for it. So we are paying for the people that are on the team. So I guess if a staff member wanted to take it, I mean, it's a little bit complicated because only so many people can be in a class, and it's there's a fee involved for each participant. So if every staff member wanted to be CPR trained, we would have to find the time to do that and the resources to pay for it, I guess.
I think
Okay.
it's 60 to an instructor or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so it scales up.
All right,
But
gotcha. So you don't have
yeah.
anyone within the whole SU that is able to like do the hands-on component, so they could do the hybrid online and then do the hands-on as needed?
No, we work with Mount Scottney, and they bring in our trainer.
All right, thank you. I was just wondering about that.
Yeah.
It would be an
Great.
interesting, it would be an interesting sort of piece to explore either long-term goals and grant money that may be able to get more trained than what is required.
Yeah, and I
you
only
bet
asked
not.
at my particular school, like my school nurse is AHA certified, so anyone in the district can do the online component, and then like she is willing to do the hands-on component. So I don't know if that's worth seeing, if there is anyone, like any nurse that would want to like take on that role, that you train them and then they can train others, and it's a much cheaper cost overall at that point.
Yeah. Be interesting to explore that. Thank you, Beth. John?
Yeah, page 2 at the top, it mentions protocol and it says see attached, and there's nothing, I couldn't find anything attached. So I would suggest we table third reading until that's straightened out. And the wordage is still in there that the protocol needs to be by the phones. So those two things seem to be.
Yeah, I talked to the nurses about that, John, about where they're posting it, and they each have, it's a little bit different in each building, but they're gonna include it in like either a binder at Weathersfield, it's a binder that's near the phone, or at other schools, it's in, like, they have those transparent file folders with important phone numbers, etc., in each classroom. So the nurses have a plan for that, but if you want that language out of there, if you want it more open, so that it's not necessarily.
Well,
next to the phone?
My thought is that perhaps a general first aid short list. I mean, there's many other emergencies besides a cardiac event that the phone may be used for. So singling this out and having it sitting next to the phone. And right now, the policy we're on third reading says it'll be by the phones, and every school has a phone in every classroom. So if I'm just trying to straighten it out or clarify it a little bit better. And it also mentions protocol, see attached, and that's, there isn't an attachment.
Yeah, we have it, so we'll link it. The nurses have that protocol.
Okay, but we're on third reading.
Yeah.
So, John, are you suggesting that what I'm hearing is you're suggesting that we should put off voting for this because of those two things. What if we just vote on it with those changes that will be made?
I'd be satisfied. I'm not sure that's exactly how it should be done, but that's okay.
But are you objecting to the fact that you haven't read the protocol?
I guess that's as good a way to put it as any. When the policy says see attached and then nothing's attached, it creates a little bit of a problem. And the protocol I would expect to be a very brief, abbreviated version of the entire policy.
How does everyone else feel? Well, how does anyone else feel?
I agree with John about the language about the phones. We talked about that last time.
Right.
And it didn't get taken out, and that's very specific.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that might have just been a miscommunication between Larry and myself. He took notes, and I checked with the nurses and I said, is this what your intent is, to put them near the phone? And they said, yes, they'll put them with all the other emergency protocols in a binder at one school and a file, folder at one school, but they would be near the phones. But if that's too specific, I mean, I think you would want them near the phone. So
What if we change it to like adjacent to designated school telephones? Because I think the problem with this is it says adjacent to each school telephone, and what that sets up in a policy thing is that anywhere that there is a phone anywhere in the building, this policy says this guide is somewhere right near it.
Right.
But it has to be posted in each classroom anyway.
Right.
It
And
has
each
to be.
classroom.
Cafeteria,
Next-
restroom, health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can either get rid of 4A3 entirely, or just say adjacent to designated school telephones, and that way either one of those things would clear that up.
I think the concern is that it just might be easy to accidentally be in violation of the policy. It's so specific.
So then I would say get rid of 4.3.
Okay. But does it say that it will be in each room?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah,
Does.
it's
Okay.
everything else here is like totally doable. It's just that's too specific.
Okay.
Okay, so get the protocol linked.
Okay.
How do people feel about passing this and knowing that there will be a link to the protocol? Well, the protocol will of course be in the packet.
Well, each school has their own protocol
Okay.
that lists their team members out. So
Okay.
each school has, I mean, they say similar things, but I mean, I'm happy to pull one up if you want to see it on the screen.
I think probably the best thing to do is to take out the attached portion. Just because
Yeah,
it's not attached, because
Right.
it's different for every building. And so,
Where does it say C attached?
It doesn't. It just says
it says
attachment.
The protocol for responding to cardiac emergency.
2B.
Yeah, this is 2B, is described in the emergency cardiac response plan protocol for posting attachment.
Okay, so
Right.
just take the word attachment out.
Okay.
And so it would read, the protocol for responding to a cardiac emergency is described in the cardiac emergency response plan protocol
period.
period.
Okay.
This is just a readability thing, Mr. Ray. Sometimes it's called a plan and sometimes it's called protocol and sometimes it's called plan protocol. So,
It's called plan protocol.
right,
It's a
but there's
CEO
other
thing.
times that it just appears as protocol and other times it's just plan and it just is an easy thing to clean up, but just reading it, I wasn't sure if there was a plan and a protocol.
Okay. So I am going to make the executive decision to table this, to have that cleaned up, have the language taken out, and we will revisit this next month. Thank you, John.
And perhaps there should be a definition of what the protocol is, because I agree, like Weathersfield, part of the protocol would be notifying, well, we're going to dial 911, but nonetheless, we use Golden Cross. The other schools use Windsor. So it could be different for different schools.
Okay. So it should be each school's protocol.
Fine.
Make one parting suggestion that we could
Sure.
maybe update. So 2B, the protocol for responding to a cardiac emergency is described in the cardiac emergency response plan protocol for posting for each building.
For each
If
building.
you just say for each building at the end, then that highlights that it will be different ones attached to this policy if you're looking at it from different. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take a moment to pause and let Christine catch up.
So we're taking out 4A3
4A3.
and we're changing 2B to the protocol for responding to a cardiac emergency is described in the cardiac emergency response plan protocol for posting for each building.
And we're making sure the language is consistent on plan protocol throughout it. I think Lori's just a detail-oriented person to take that on. Okay, district equity policy, which is the district part is being taken out. So C29, and this is second reading. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Elizabeth?
Christine, can you give a little bit of background on these changes?
These changes came directly from VSBA, and they were listed as updates for the policy.
And I see that the legal references are all yellowed out. Are those going to be replaced?
Yellow
is new.
New.
Yeah, red is old. So this was on the review. This was on the
Okay.
updated policy list from the VSBA.
Okay. So yellow is new?
Yellow is new. Yeah.
So why are we going with district equity policy? This isn't a district. This is a
I don't know, but
SU.
this
Okay.
is a VSBA. I'll pull it up.
Well, I think the point of the word being district is that it applies to every district,
Every
which is the legal entity of
Right.
the governing of the. Okay. Christine, I'm sorry. I think I interrupted you answering Elizabeth's question.
Yes, but
Okay.
it sounds like she has a follow-up.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I do. I would like to voice objection to these updates. I think that the changed definition of equity really changes everything about what we intended in our original equity policy. I feel like if the purpose of this is to create a requirement for a continuous improvement plan and for equity to be updated in the continuous improvement plan, then that should be added, but I don't know why it should be reduced to 2 paragraphs in the manner that it has been. And I think it really dilutes the intention of our original equity policy. Thanks.
Yeah, it really looks like that's what they've done. Yeah. So,
This might be the only policy that defines inclusion too. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't know that we have that defined in any of our other
Mhm.
policies.
The new version.
The new version.
the new
That has
version.
that definition. I don't think we actually have it defined
No,
anywhere else.
Mhm.
no, I don't think so either. I mean, it does say the plan will be aligned with the education quality standards, right? So that, I
That's
think,
the-
is where all of this is incorporated. So I think they're trying to simplify it.
But we don't know what's in the new education quality standards because they have not passed. And so,
Correct.
I don't think that we should have a policy that relies solely on the EQS. That's my thing.
But maybe it's best to wait on this one until we know, honestly.
Yeah.
And until that AQS, if they pass, it seems like this is in alignment with what we're trying to do because the EQS are.
Right.
But if they don't pass, that's problematic. So Elizabeth, I think you're right.
Yeah,
Okay.
in that case, we might be better off sticking with
Wait.
the policy as written.
Yeah.
We will table this one.
Thank you.
John?
Anne Marie's trying to get on and she's not being allowed in. Somebody take care of that, please.
Sorry. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Okay. Oop. Procurement. Okay, F40. And this is the second or third reading? Second. Okay. Any discussion on F40 procurement? I think Larry laid it out pretty straightforward. It's just a change in the language that's required by law.
They added reference to a single .gov website.
Yeah.
It looks like, yeah.
Others wanted our policies to match our procedure.
Excellent.
It makes sense. Any discussion? F20, fiscal management and general financial accountability, second read, is very similar. Except that it's a more in-depth changing. Elizabeth, any discussion?
It's really
Any
more,
discussion?
I have a general comment, and that is there any way that when we have statutory citations that they could have live links to them?
Yeah, I don't see why not. It's time.
Well, it's not that, it doesn't take that long. You
Oh,
just,
no, it's not that, but it's like anything, it's time, it's just finding it, linking it. I don't think, Elizabeth, that's a huge ask. It would probably take a while to have it done, but I agree with you, it would simplify things.
Do you want her to go back to all existing policies? Or link them going forward?
I would link them going forward.
Okay.
And as we review and update the policies to have especially seeing there are quite a few legislative changes happening. Larry, any input on this one? Just
No, it's, regular update. Yes, yeah, is it right?
Yeah. Any more discussion? Okay. F-26 security cameras. Second read. Wow, this came up in Hartford too.
Yeah, because it's on the list to be reviewed.
Yeah. Any discussion? Yeah, Hartford was looking at possibly a new system.
Mhm.
A lot of simplification in this. Basically taking out the general principles, which are not necessary to a policy. No discussion? Second read? Okay. Elizabeth.
thanks. I wonder why I think, I can't remember how long we kept recordings before, but 30 days seems like no time at all.
That's what we give people.
30,
I believe it's 30 days currently.
Yeah.
That's in the red language.
Yeah.
Title 9. How long is it?
I mean, if we need,
You'd actually be surprised.
if we need video, we typically know pretty quickly, and then we can download it and keep it.
Yeah.
But if we don't keep them all.
Yeah, we're not talking about like one or two cameras here. It's a lot of cameras at HD, and some are 4K. And it takes up disk space much quicker than one might imagine.
Yeah.
So I think 30 days is really pushing it, honestly.
Elizabeth?
I've got a question. I don't see any kind of mention here of the SU's, the supervisory union's responsibility to keep the cameras in good working order, so that if there is an incident, that students can rely on there either being or not being a camera there.
You're
You want to have a line that IT services is responsible for making sure that cameras are in good working order, we can do that. We basically go with the principles about where they want the cameras. And within feasibility of running the line, usually in the summer, we put cameras where we can. So as far as if a camera dies, we get a new camera. Hasn't happened recently that I can remember. I could look into that. But I think it'd be fine to put a line in there saying, if it's not understood, that the SVU is responsible for making sure that all the cameras work. I know in IT, they monitor them pretty extensively.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yes, Megan.
Do you feel like you do get requests for over 30 days and don't have, like, is that something Or do you feel like it's really not an issue? I'm just curious.
And off the top of my head, I think it's happened once or twice. There's one particular principal. I know it's happened once or twice. And our IT's response is usually, if you would have told us when it happened, we could have had it for you. But it was always like within a few days after 30 or 40 days. And it changes, right? So like might have 40 days, right? But if the more cameras we add,
It could be.
it goes lower.
And is that something you communicate to the administration?
Yeah, they
So
know.
they know.
They
They
know.
I'm just curious.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Like
it's, they put in tickets and they ask, a lot of them, do it on their own.
They monitor.
They monitor themselves.
They can go back and look.
They can go back and look.
And then
And
they'll
then-
sometimes
And
ask
they
for
put
a
a
clip.
ticket and say, all right, I found what I'm looking for. I need a clip of this from this date, this time,
Right.
at this location.
The thing that I understand from the language here too is if there were some sort of like remarkable reason to keep a large portion of video files, like for more than that, it's at least 30 days.
Yeah.
It's not at the 30-day mark.
Yeah.
But they would be requested. That's what.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm saying in that
Somebody said-
circumstance, it's like.
Yeah, if somebody
Yeah.
said, we need this, and once IT delivers it to the principal, it's out there. So like it could be kept for years.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, they download it.
we don't trash it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are we, the other two ones are the draft AOE and the draft prevention HHD.
One is the current policy.
Right.
And one is the draft model policy that is being, there's some suggested changes in that one.
Okay. Elizabeth,
My thoughts are that, wow, it's incredible that we have not looked at this policy in so long. And also, we should not be relying on the AOE's draft policy because that policy is on a 5-year timeline. And it's a draft. And I don't think it's a good idea to base a new policy on the AOE's draft, particularly because it is not in any form or fashion in plain language. It's in legalese, and this needs to be a document that students, parents, administrators, and educators can easily refer to. And so number one, it needs to be in plain language. Number two, we might consider at least updating the language that we have now to include the recommendations from the subcommittee or the committee. And three, with the full understanding that at some point the AOE will have a new draft of or a new model policy, but we should, if that occurs after we have merged with another district or after something else happens, we don't know, but we need to have something updated in place now. So those are my thoughts.
well, my concern is that we have a committee right now to work on this topic. And so I would prefer to hear the outcome of what that committee work is before updating this policy. That's my feeling. If we go to the time to have a committee, to have students, staff, and board members participate in the committee, then I really want to wait for that committee to be done and to hear what they have to say. Because This is an extremely important topic, and it needs to fit the need of our schools, not what the AOE wants, but what we need. So that's my opinion.
Is there a timeline for this committee?
The committee met twice in a month. The minutes are online somewhere, probably under the SU board portal. So we met twice. It was myself, 3 principals, Kate Ryan, Pauline Deschamps, Jennifer Aldrich, Tracy was there, Elizabeth was there, Brooklyn came to both meetings. We had 2 other students from Heartland at the first meeting. They didn't make it to the second meeting. And what we did was we went through the demand. Well, Elizabeth gave a little bit of an overview of kind of the history and the timeline. And then we went through the model policy demands from impacted families, and students weighed in on whether they thought that the more proactive measures that were mentioned in those in that document made sense. And actually we were very enlightened by what the students had to say, and it was great to have their voice at the table. And I believe, and Tracy can help me remember, in terms of restorative justice, they thought that that was a really important piece and wanted to be able to engage with peers and classmates in creating communities of care so that restorative practices could be in place. And restorative practices are really, there's a lot that's done proactively so that when there is harm in the community, there's a community there that can help heal. So they thought that was great. And in fact, some of the professional development that we're gonna work on next year is in line with that. The other components of that document were staff and school training. The students really, and we have worked really hard on making sure staff are trained. We're going to bring in another presenter this year. Last year it was Heather Lynn who came and trained all designated employees and then all staff. This year we have confirmation from Big Hartman that they will come and do that training with the full staff in August. The students really said that they know that the principal or the person of authority has to stand up and say, this is the law, this is what we have to do. But they really felt like it would be great in advisory or swarms or at morning meetings for younger students to really have honest, open discussions about HHB and real, actual, if students are willing, that have experienced or been involved in HHB, if they were willing to talk about it, that would be really helpful. The students suggested that, so we're going to work on implementing that next year.
That's part of our training is next year with middle and high school, especially, will be what we call proactive restorative practices, which will involve proactively tackling these subjects through advisory, through swarm time period.
Yeah.
So that's part of the training in August also.
That's our plan for next year, yeah.
As subjects, do you mean the subject of bullying specifically?
Either use swarm and advisory for proactive case studies of stuff that has happened and get the students thinking about ways with which, whether that's a case in the school or a case from another school. What does this mean? Where could it have been interrupted? What does it mean for you as a student in a classroom when you hear something such as inappropriate slurs? What's your role? So that we don't wait till it happens. We get conversations going, I would say, proactively about that. So I'm a big believer in case studies. I think both middle school and high school kids like that, and it generates great conversations. Rather than being reactive, the whole idea is let's be proactive and just have students what I call common decency, tackle some issues and how do we keep a healthy environment.
And so, Elizabeth, hang on a second. I just want to say that this SU has this SU, the school district, these buildings, the staff have invested significant money and more significant time in Leader and Me. And I think the time is right to reap some of those benefits, especially on the policy level, by employing that in the students' wishes to move forward.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think we've worked towards, as an SU and districts, towards this moment, and I think it should be played out. Elizabeth?
Thanks. In addition to this policy, I feel strongly that we revisit the supporting policies, our anti-racism policy, our transgender policy, and make sure that all of the policies are fully implemented and that all staff are trained on the policies and what they actually look like in the classroom. Because without those, HHB policy has no meaning, or it has less meaning. Thanks.
I think we should hear from Brooklyn because she has to go in a few minutes. and
Okay.
she's part of that.
Brooklyn?
All right, thank you. I know it's unfortunate that right as soon as we get into the thing I'm involved in, I unfortunately do have to leave, but I will speak as fast as I can, get up to all the points that I wanted to mention. So, as I think I stated before, this is important to me. The hazing, harassment, bullying policy is, and I know it is to many other students as well who might not be like as involved in these sorts of things. It is still important to them regardless. So I do think it is important to like hear what people have to say, and also I agree with what you guys are all saying about it. So yay, thank you as well for listening and having me here and everything. But yeah.
It sounds like, Bill, it might, what you're asking is that that committee convenes again and we work on the actual policy, making some of those changes and bring that back to the board.
Davis?
So I think the thing, and this is all, I think that the work the committee is doing is really, really valuable and good. I think the ideas about incorporating restorative justice, like case studies, is all good. I think the question that Liz started with that sort of maybe got lost in the details, is there a timeline that we're adhering to or following on this? Because I think it's a good question, and my concern would only be that we need to have some sort of timeline by which we're expecting a deliverable that has all this stuff.
You mean the updated policy?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we haven't talked about that. We've just revisited the demands from impacted families. That was our charge to begin with.
So I think maybe a good thing for us to get for the next meeting would be to have, if that group meets in the interim, is to have that group start to think of a draft timeline so that we have something to work with, and maybe that we can hear that and decide if that sounds like it's reasonable or not. Just have it be kind of a dialogue between us, like, because I think this is all really great work, but I also know that if you do a lot of really great work and there's no clear deliverable or timeline at the end of it, you can end up doing it and then it not being implemented in the way that you want it to be.
Yes, thank you.
And if that timeline can't be met, then interim change may be appropriate.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, David. Elizabeth?
Thanks. One of the things I suggested to Christine at the end of the last committee meeting was that if there was a way for us to get it done soon so that it could be implemented by the start of the next school year, then as we do have merger discussions with other districts, by the time those discussions are complete, we will have had the policy in place for a goodly amount of time, and we can bring the policy to whatever we wind up being, because we will have had it in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll have another committee meeting and we'll create a timeline. Come back next month with a timeline. And I think by next year is very doable.
Sure.
I don't think anything that's in the demands for impacted families is anything that is not achievable.
Good.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna hand it off to Christine in the superintendent's report.
Okay. Share the screen. Right, here we go. So I am going to start as I always do with some a little bit of focus on our kids, our students, and the goals that we have in our strategic plan. So in student success and engagement, I wanted to point out that we had our second National Junior Honor Society induction. So that's a picture in the middle. That's Windsor Middle School. And we had 7 new members inducted, with the existing members being part of that ceremony. It was lovely. And the event has taken on the role of the advisor for both the High School National Honor Society and the Junior National Honor Society. And the kids really work for that. So it's impressive. Many of you saw our student, Gavin Carty, present at the Mount Scottney School Board. And he did such an amazing job. I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. On the full SU board. He really delivered a great presentation with confidence and accuracy and some flair, and so he did a really good job. And then we just have students around our SU engaged in learning activities, and I just want to shout out our teachers work really hard to make create opportunities for our kids that are hands-on, and we all know they have programs that they're supposed to use, but they really do a nice job of making learning hands-on and small groups so that kids can have some good discourse going on. So even though the year's winding down, they're still really engaging kids, which is exciting. Could not share. We had 2 amazing performances last month. I don't know if any of you were able to see them, but the one at Wethersfield was All Shook Up. It's a story of really about Elvis, and the student who played that part was really, really good. Really, really impressive. And so kudos to all the staff and the students and the families that made that happen. And then Heartland did Lightning Thief, which was equally phenomenal, and it's an effort by a lot of people, and it takes a lot of time and commitment and to put on performances like this. So very impressive. We have Windsor Middle School is having one, I want to say May 7th, off the top of my head. So that they're going to have a performance soon. Yeah. Yeah, they were really great. Both the performances were great. I also wanted to shout out one of our students, Ava Reed from Windsor High School, although she didn't win the Vermont Poetry Out Loud contest. She was a finalist. She was the 3rd place winner. So that's pretty awesome. So if you see her, give her a big congratulations. So updates. Good news. We don't have radon in any of our schools. We are in compliance. Another state unfunded mandate. It can cost each district $5,000 to get tested, but we do not have radon in our schools. And thanks to Jim for organizing that and getting that taken care of. It's good news for us. Just a couple of other things going on for you to get a little peek into what we're working on. So continuous improvement plans now, as of this year, have to be local. So we have, each district has their own. It used to be one at the SU that we all shared. Now we each have our own. So Bridget's been really leading that process and keeping us on track with the needs assessment and helping each administrator set goals in the continuous improvement plans. And one of the requirements is that you have to go in mid-year and do a progress update. So they've done that based on the goals that they set, and they'll talk about those at their meetings. We are on track to revise those continuous improvement plans. We'll do that in August at our admin retreat, and then we'll bring those to the board for approval in September. That's our plan. So we'll see it again. Summer wind planning is underway. Students have been invited to participate. Remember, those are going to be local this year at each building and not at the Windsor Elementary School altogether. We're going to see how that goes and reevaluate at the end to see if it was what we wanted it to be and students made gains. Algebra for 8th grade also is going to be at the sites this year, and Bridget worked with administrators and teachers, and we are going to be using Eureka Squared Algebra program, and all the teachers are on board with that, and they are going to get some time this summer for some professional development time this summer to work together to create, to go over the program and create lesson plans and collaborate. So I think that's pretty exciting, and we'll see how that goes. We have started meeting. You heard us reference earlier, and Tracy will probably talk about this a little bit in her report. We've started planning PD for next year, and it was very timely that we met with those students on that committee, because it really helps kind of drive the direction that we're going to go in, and we'll share that plan with you when it's completed.
It's PD.
Professional development, sorry. So those in-service days that teachers have. In general, restorative practices is going to be the focus in middle and high school. And in elementary, we are focused on EQS standards and UDL practices, which is
In math,
universal design for learning, especially in math, because we know our math scores need improvement. So we are working on a middle school culture survey. So the high school students took a survey. They've been working with Up for Learning this year and developed a survey that students took. And then it was pretty powerful. The students shared that data with staff at a professional development session recently. So we want to hear from our middle schoolers too. So we're in development, and we'll share those results with you when they come in. And then we are in hiring season, and Jen Hulse is in the lead for having to do the most hiring so far. And so we are wondering, and we can bring this back to you, but just wanted to float. We've got people waiting to be hired. Like, they've been interviewed. They've been sitting for weeks waiting for this meeting. We don't issue them a contract until the board approves their hire. Sometimes people aren't willing to wait because
There's other
offers on the table. So Jen was sharing in her district, they had a board personnel committee for hiring, and it was if needed. So if there were some hires piling up, they would call just a meeting. It was voluntary for people that could make it, usually like first thing in the morning or during the day. You wouldn't have to be in person, but it would just be to approve those hires and then report out at the next meeting. So if you're all open to that, that would be something that we would like to talk.
So, but it has to be warned.
It has to be warned. It would have to be warned. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's important, because you tend to lose people.
We do. Yeah. So we've got a list tonight she's going to present to you, but if you're open to that, we would love to do that.
Christine?
Yeah.
Are there a certain amount of board members that would be needed for the personnel committee?
You'd have to have a quorum.
Yeah. You need
So-
7. But
It's not
If it was-
really it's not a committee meeting or so.
No,
It's
it's not.
actually just a board meeting.
Yeah.
So you'd have to have a quorum.
People willing to be involved in special meetings?
Yeah.
70 people?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
okay, see who's there.
Elizabeth?
Christine, is it possible for the board to see the high school culture survey results?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
I'll get those from Jeff Beachy. Yep. Just let me write myself a note. Tracy, you don't have those, do you?
No, but I know the two main themes that came out of that was a focus on college and career readiness and belonging. So those were the two. And they said, I mean, they're going to keep doing, they'll plan to do the survey. I think they're going to do it again before the end of the year. And then they're going to, again next year and sort of see how things are changing over time.
But yeah, absolutely. Okay, next up, so I emailed board chairs, but I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. Typically, we have, each local district has a June board retreat. And so I'm proposing that we change our format this year and have just a regular board meeting in June, which would be helpful because we can share our data reports at that time. And then in August, there's not a ton to report anyway, because it's been summer. And instead of having each board have their own retreat, I would like us to consider one joint board retreat in August, maybe the 10th or the 17th or whatever date works for everybody, in lieu of other meetings. And then we would have a dinner together. I would like to bring in a trainer. We have some new board members and new board chairs, and just have it all together, like board roles and responsibilities. And then if there's any, earth-shattering news from the legislature, we'll see. We can all be together to talk about that, and then break out into our local, have some time for local boards to kind of look at their survey data and set their own goals. So wanted to get a feel for what people think about that plan.
The last time we did it, and this is why I have always hesitated at this, but I think this is a good opportunity to let Christine see how she's able to do it. The last time we did it, we were under a different superintendent, and it was not a very pleasant experience.
I remember.
Yeah. It was not a pleasant.
When was the last time that there was because this is almost more like a big summit with
It
board
was-
retreats
It's
built
the
in.
carousel meetings,
Yeah, it was
remember?
a carousel meeting.
It was all the local board meetings on the same night.
Yeah.
And the SU board meeting it was like the SU board meeting and then the
Yeah.
local board meetings, and we were there till 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And the superintendent wasn't able to manage, checking in on each board. So
Yeah, it was a hot mess.
it was,
But-
and it might be a hot mess again, but I don't know.
It might be,
Well,
but
this
Our
proposed
board
schedule
retreat.
ends at 8:30, so I appreciate
does.
that. Yeah, no, I think it's I like the idea. I think doing it in one physical location too, if we're able to do that, and then have the kind of the local retreats in the form of breakouts, but keeping them to about an hour, it looks
Yeah.
like on this.
Yeah.
I think that with what we tend to do every year, looking at the plan, and that doesn't take much more than an hour.
Yeah.
But I think with a lot of the changes that are coming up, this is a good opportunity to bring everyone together and kind of coalesce those things in one space.
the other important to make that for the organizers to realize, and this group of administrators have been doing much better at this than past administrations, that this is a board meeting. This is not an administrative meeting.
Right.
And so the last time we tried to do this with a lot of board members, it really turned into an administrative meeting. And so that's not the point. So I am more than happy to give this current administration the opportunity to give it a try.
Okay.
So,
And I'll second I think this is a really good opportunity to do some group professional development as board members. I
Yes.
think if that's something we haven't really
Yeah.
formally done at these, I think this is a really good opportunity to do that.
Yeah. And Sarah has weighed in. She's open to it. Hannah's here. I think she's still on. Hannah, do you want to weigh in?
Sorry, trouble finding my mute button. I actually think it's a great idea. So I'm in support, acknowledging
Okay.
the potential pitfalls of a larger group.
Okay. Test some facilitation skills. Awesome. Okay. Okay, moving on, just a little bit of general updates that have been coming through. I wanted to give you a little overview. H955 passed out of the House, and there's a Senate plan as well. So I'm going to give you a little bit of kind of comparison of both of those plans, and this is just high level. So the House Plan 955 pushes voluntary governance consolidation with incentives and creates 7 seesaws, which are the regional service agencies. Senate plan to date gives a couple of years for some voluntary consolidation, and then the state forces consolidation. So that's the difference in those two in the governance part of the plan. Supervisory unions versus school districts.
No, go ahead.
The House plan envisions school districts as they currently are and encourages consolidation of school districts and will provide merger support and potential construction funds for new projects. The Senate plan seems to contemplate bigger SUs, including forcing some school districts that are not in supervisory unions now to join supervisory unions. There are a couple more comparisons. Tax policy, the House passed plan changes some property tax classifications so that second homeowners and others will pay more in property taxes. The goal is to improve equity, and the Senate hasn't addressed this issue yet that I'm aware of. School construction, H 955 looks to incentivize projects that will lead to consolidation or scale. The state will pay funding for majority of approved construction projects that meet goals. And to my knowledge, the Senate has not addressed this issue yet. And then I think this is the last comparison. Local versus state control. H 955 provides incentives and tools for potential change of the system. The Senate plan to date requires change and mandates it from the state level. The House plan is gradual and will be ongoing. The Senate plan requires change and for it to take place much quicker. So those are the differences. There's one more. Sorry, it's not right on that one. So for both plans at this point, it appears, and I've heard this in my meetings, my superintendent meetings with the Vermont Superintendent Association Director, Chelsea Meyer, it looks like both will push for a foundation formula with student weights as a driving calculus for the funding school districts will receive. The House plan would implement a foundation formula a couple of years later than the current Senate plan, with the hope that school districts would merge first. So that that foundation formula wouldn't be as devastating to individual districts. So those are the updates as far as I know. Elizabeth may know more because she's there every day and more in the thick of it. So I'll leave it to you.
So, a couple of things of note. One is that the sorry, let me put my hand down. One is that the foundation formula is forced consolidation. It is. So saying like the House 955, the House version of 955 does not officially include forced consolidation, but the foundation formula by its nature will require forced consolidation. And I don't think that many legislators are really cognizant of that.
Or major devastating cuts to your budget.
Or major devastating cuts to your budget. The legislature now is pushing S220, which is significant because it is being touted as a bridge to the foundation formula. The Senate the House did not take it up in the Ways and Means Committee. They did take testimony on it. For our area, for the Upper Valley, it will be devastating. It caps it at 112%, and I have right here, or I had, no, I don't. I did have, I don't any. Yeah, for our area, at the 112%, it means that for our supervisory union, it would be a, let's see, Windsor Central, where is it?
I think Heartland was the worst, Elizabeth. They'd have to cut like 1.2 million, right? Under S220.
Yeah, Mount Escutney, where's
Mount
it?
Escutney was $1 million. And Weathersfield was like under 800,000. Yeah. So each district would have to cut significant amounts from their budget.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I'll put a link to this page in the chat. Can I? Yeah, I can. Here's a spreadsheet of the impacts of it. Just scroll all the way to the end because Windsor County is at the bottom. But you can see that the districts in our area are the hardest hit by these impacts. These are what they're calling the bridge, which means that when we get to the foundation formula, it's going to be even more restrictive. That's my point, is that this is 112%, does not account for inflation, and we do not have any access to exceptions, which means that if we disputed next next year at 112%, that we likely would not win a dispute. And currently in the Senate Education, it's being suggested that they roll back the class size minimums. There's a number of different groups that are pressuring the Senate Education Committee to roll back the class size restrictions. So we'll see where that lands. I want you all to know that I voted against H 955. I found it to be, well, I found it to be sloppily done. And because it did not attend to, if all of this stuff is leading towards a fiscal year 2029-2030 rollout of the official start of the future state of public education or education in the state of Vermont, then they did not pay enough attention to what happens in the middle. So they put a lot of hard things in that depend on the system being transformed in the way that the original H454, which is now Act 73, envisioned. But then it also softens some other parts, and they're not like thought through which pieces get softened and which pieces get hardened. Let's see.
Elizabeth, have you heard that, what I heard is there will likely be some discussion on that 112%, and it will likely increase in S220.
S220 isn't going anywhere. It's been tacked on by the Senate to the yield bill, and it is 112. It's not being raised. It was raised by the House, and then it's been knocked back down by the Senate.
Okay.
Particularly Ruth Hardy. Let's see.
Davis wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I just have a question for anybody who can maybe answer it in somewhat simple terms. So I think what I'm understanding at a high level on this is that the design of either of the House plan or the Senate plan to some extent is meant to, and maybe more that the House plan is meant to provide incentives for smaller districts to merge into larger districts, so that when the foundation formula inevitably happens, it will not be as drastic for those larger units. Right?
Yep.
Is there a simple, comprehensible explanation as to why the foundation formula has less impact on those larger units? Like, I think I understand it. I just want to hear, because I feel like that's the thing that we never.
Yeah. How does merging benefit?
How does the thing work?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that you have to, in order for the foundation formula to be effective as Scott Beck originally envisioned it, we would have the same size districts as the governor originally proposed. The question is, if we merged into districts that size, do we really need a foundation formula? Like, if we have that capacity and that number of students, at that point, do we need a foundation formula? I'm not convinced. I mean, there still is no projection that a foundation formula would do what they want it to. There has been no data from the Joint Fiscal Office supporting it yet. And so that's what makes it all questionable.
But I guess that the core of the question that I have is, that the bills are suggested that there would be benefits to merging. Other than construction funds, what benefit is there to merging for financially?
There isn't. I mean, that's the thing. There has not been anything, any data from the Joint Fiscal Office saying that there is any long-term impact on merging that would cause a long-term benefit. The one thing I will say is that the way that the what do you call voting districts would be reconfigured to match when the voting districts are reconfigured, then they would be able to recalculate grand list for the entire voting district, and that will have an impact. And in order to, and so the district has to meet that size, if that makes sense. They're totally separate things. They don't have to do with being on a board. They're completely separate. And that will have a long-term impact. But the actual running of the district, there's no projection that after a 5-year period that there would be lasting savings. And I would caution you all to not place a lot of faith in school construction funding, because those are largely, they plan to allow districts to borrow from the, to create a special type of bond that districts can borrow. And so it will largely still be, the bill will still be footed by the districts themselves, with a portion of matching funding from the state, but they don't actually have a source for that funding at this time.
Okay, so it sounds to me, and we are going to move on, or have Christine, that it's a lot of hocus pocus.
Yep. Okay. Lastly, we've got our quarterly update. Larry's gonna talk us through this real quick. Get this. All right, Larry, you ready?
Hey, can you zoom that to bottom?
Yep. I think. Well, I can't, my computer catches up. Okay. All the way to the bottom?
Yeah. So basically, this is a third quarter financial reports, which ended March 31st. It is now April 27th. This was up on the website shortly after April 1st. And it breaks out what I spoke about at our March, near the end of March, SU board meeting, is that we have a significant deficit in special ed. Anybody who's been following the FY27 budget process will probably remember me talking about that, how the actuals in 25 didn't catch up to the 26 budget. So we are putting them in the 27 budget. Well, we're now in the 26 budget, and it's the same thing. So these are 26 actuals, and we have a significant deficit in special education. You can go through the detail and the summaries, but basically that's where we are. If I was going to give any bright lights, I would say last year we were saved with some state revenue in the fourth quarter, which comes in August, right before we close the books. So we close the books June 30th, but obviously as we get revenue from the state, that final piece of revenue that we get from the state is the intensive needs revenue for special education. At this time of year, I run monthly projections on the revenue I would expect to see for those higher needs kiddos and the revenue we would get from that. So last year we were able to use a lot of the fund balance so that we didn't have to reassess at the districts. This year I can't make that promise, but we're going to try everything we can do to not do that. I have cut off spending as of April 15th, except in cases where the principals feel that it is absolutely necessary. So happy to.
So, okay, so
If you still have a question or?
your hand's still up.
Oh,
Some more to follow, and the auditors will be here in the fall. And we close out the books June 30th, and hopefully at the August board meeting or September SU board meeting, as we close out 26, I will hopefully have another rabbit out in the hat like I did last year.
Great confidence in you, Larry.
Very colorful.
That is the end of my report. I should have put that first. Yes. All right.
and there's 2 procedures on there for people to review. Tracy?
All right, I'm just logging in so I can pull up my screen. All right, so just going to give you an update and so just again, I'll continue to frame the updates in this like theory of change. So thinking about the different levels that we're talking about, building capacity, so institutional, cultural, individual, and then within those different levels, we have some specific goals. And so these show up in our instruction leadership plan. And there are so many things I think that are happening that are aligning. So you'll hear me repeat some of the things that we've already brought up so far tonight. And again, this is just something that we're really trying to get in the practice of asking who is missing and why. That will help, help us think about historically. And this is a way of just, it's basically our equity filter, right? If we can always ask this question, hopefully we can surface more questions, and keep the work as dynamic as it needs to be. Really. So this goal, that first one, is about capacity building. So ongoing capacity building training and support. A couple of things I wanted to mention about that. This was the calendar for this last year, and these were the equity coach led all staff meetings that were happening in our buildings. And I will say that, like lots of new things, it takes some time trying these on, getting the system really integrated, having administrators and equity coaches working together to make sure these meetings are delivered, having Christine remind folks that these are on the calendars, right? And so thinking about how we can move through the year, what different priorities might be. I know, Elizabeth, you had some questions about our policies. These meetings seem to be a great place for some of those conversations to happen. So all of the equity coaches in the last few months have led sessions reviewing our transgender and gender nonconforming student policy. We have some guidelines that we're looking at for that. We also have procedures, and the way we sort of tease those out is the procedures are really what was asked for in the policy. Guidelines have a little bit more internal information to support staff in knowing how best to support students. So those are the conversations that we're having at some of these staff meetings. Yeah.
Is this all of the schools together?
Yeah, it's, because schools are all different, it's like this has been a general schedule. And there are some things like by the end of the year, not all of them have reviewed the active hate procedures yet, right? But that's coming up. So by the end of the year, yes, I think all of this will have happened within all of the buildings.
Sorry, just to
Yeah,
clarify. So like January, there were 22 meetings.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, that was the date. That was like the January 22nd was the date that equity coaches were on the schedule to do the all staff meeting.
Seemed like a lot.
Yes. Yeah, right. We're doing a lot of great work. We're going for quantity.
And then all the schools do it on that date.
Yes,
Okay.
That's the plan. I mean, sometimes, something comes up in a school and they have to change priorities, but they'll move the meetings to a different week if that happens. But so this is something that we're continuing to look at, and you can see on the bottom, I mean, it's like at any of these meetings, all of them. I mean, I said to equity coaches, I was like, the thing I most consistently hear from folks is We need practice interrupting. We need practice like what to say when, this happens in our classroom, and so I think that is something that we can't get enough practice with is getting everybody on board and how to do that. And I think we're getting closer to that. We're having more conversations. We're having, this is about, it's changing culture in our schools, right? And so that takes time. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about the guidelines? Because I see so there's been some focus on fleshing out the procedures around agitated and transgender policy, and then guidelines, which are that's a toolkit that's more focused on implementation in the school setting.
Yes.
My question would be, as part of that, has there been any consideration around maybe creating kind of a commensurate toolkit that's outward facing? Because I know that an issue that comes up with policies and procedures sometimes is that they do, even if we make them as sort of brief and palatable as we can, they can still be a little bit legalese just to make sure that everything gets in there. So as far as, I think it's great that you're doing kind of guidelines internally. I think if there was something similar that could be
external,
and then connects to those policies.
Yeah.
So it's just,
and I think we have been sort of a little bit cautious around the topic of thinking about transgender and gender non-conforming students in our schools. And so we haven't been as we really want to make sure that we are good to go internally.
Sure.
And those are guidelines too that we can share with the board. Right? And they may not become externally facing documents. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Elizabeth, yeah.
Thanks. I just wondered whether is the transgender procedures being led by, who is it being led by, and does it have input from transgender people?
Yes. I mean, that was actually, I think last year when we first had the draft of the policy. I think it was one of the first policies that we did. We took it out and we asked for input from staff and students, especially who had, transgender non-binary identities. We did get some input at that time, and I think it's something that we could consider doing in an ongoing way, ideally, right? Is that the most impact? I mean, like we're thinking about with our HHB policy is how are we integrating input from people who are most impacted. So I think there's more work we can do on that, Elizabeth. And we have a GSA, Gender Sexuality Alliance Group, right? So we asked, right? Like do students want to give us input on this? So we have put it out there. We haven't gotten a ton of input on the guidelines from folks.
Laura Pascoe is helping.
But yes,
us
Laura
with that work.
Pascoe, who we've been working with all last year, she's really been helping us with those. And what I will mention about that is that she's also been working with Hartford schools, right? So when we think about aligning around different policies and practices that we're putting in our schools, like she's an example of where there's some good crossover. Yeah. And so this is a preview of next year, and this includes, I've been meeting with administrative team for, an hour every month. We also reviewed the guidelines for transgender and gender non-conforming student policy with Laura Pascoe, with administrators last month. We're meeting again tomorrow morning. We'll go through a couple scenarios too during those meetings. The pink days on there, that's when I'll meet with equity coaches so we can do some planning. And then those turquoise dates are, again, those are the dates that equity coaches will be leading all staff meetings in schools. The top line are those three, like we talked about, is having more of, instead of having a DEI day, is like, what are some of the things that we did on the last DEI day that we can continue to pull through, right? Like, so the restorative practices, the universal design for learning, those themes. And yeah, just grateful to be working with Bridget on this, because I feel like that's the only way that this stuff is possible, right? Is that we can find, because we have limited days to do in service. And so we recognize that you can't do restorative practices in 1 3-hour session and say, okay, we're good, right? We've been talking about it for before I was here, right, we were talking about doing more restorative practices. So,
I think more importantly too, the teachers are interested in the how of implementation in something that actually exists, their classroom, their advisory period. So it's not just a one-shot day and then done.
yeah,
So we're really pushing more for integrating it into existing systems that we already have.
yes.
So
And it's great that we have administrators who wanted to. I mean, we have two that I can think of who are really wanting to restructure advisory in their buildings, right? To have a smaller group. And that was aligning with what we heard from students, is that when they're in a smaller group, they feel more comfortable asking questions, right? They get to know the adult a little bit better. They get to know each other better. It's the relationship building that can happen in those spaces that's going to be essential for when harm happens. If you don't have those pre-existing relationships, then and conflict comes up, right? It's really hard to navigate. So it's great that we have administrators who are wanting to change those structures in their schools so that we can do this. And you know how this aligns and is an integrated part of the learning framework. Like all of these things are just, it's great to see some of that alignment and integration really starting to feel like it's happening, whether we're talking about restorative practices or talking about the education quality standards and making sure that our curriculum is anti-racist, anti-discriminatory, culturally responsive. And so I think I've mentioned that we've had a group, Bridget and I have met with 2 equity coaches and some volunteer teachers to think about how do we do this? How do we review the content that we're currently teaching? How do we find the gaps? How do we use frameworks like Vermont's IRIS ethnic studies standards to do this work? And the right side was actually, there was a group that already developed these adaptation packs for some of what the materials that we're using for the CKLA is our English language arts curriculum program. So these are like 20-page documents, and they say, hey, you know, it's problematic that this unit discusses royalty and is only talking about it from a Eurocentric point, right? There are royalty in lots of different cultures around the world. Here are some examples that you can bring in. Here's some images you can use. So it does a great job just laying out, you know, that we can still use the curriculum that we've been invested in, and we can think about how do we augment it to make sure that we're, you know, that we're being culturally responsive. So I think this is super exciting. We're meeting again with this team next Monday to think about, like, how do we frame this out for 3 days of professional development next year with the elementary teachers? How do we use these resources and tools to help us with that? And how do we not bypass the personal growth and the personal awareness and reflection that also needs to be part of that work? The next goal was about creating and sustaining safer, braver spaces. This is I think that we may have a couple more equity tickets, but this is just from this school year. And so far we have about, I think there's 202 equity tickets that have come in so far. So the way it breaks down, if you can see the categories, right, it's not surprising to see some of the same patterns, right? That the things that we are getting equity tickets about are about racism, they're about gender, sexuality, disability, some nationality, citizenship, right? It's the same patterns, I think, that we generally see in society, not just in society, but youth risk behavior survey assessment. I mean, we see these same patterns come up. And there are some ways, like I think our active hate, that's part of the draft procedures on the left there that we're going to be talking about with staff, because it helps complement like the hazing, harassment, and bullying, but also the conversations about hazing, harassment, and bullying are that those policies have not done a good job with defining what hate speech is. And so this policy is great that we have this, and it sort of fills this gap in where you don't necessarily have to have somebody who's present who has a protected category. Just if somebody yells something that's really offensive, like the N-word that we may hear in our school, doesn't matter if there are no Black people around, right? It's like that is still a problem. And so this policy, you know, again, is really helpful in thinking about how we can address those more consistently in the moment when they happen. And this was a resource. I think this just came out in February that I came across, which is a really great resource it's an essay that's written by a woman of color, and she goes through and talks about some recommendations for things we can do in our schools to help prevent and address and respond to the N-word when it comes up. And what's really nice is that we're already doing a lot of what's in it. But we're using that with the high school staff meeting on Thursday, talking about that. And then this was just, again, sort of a shout out to the subcommittee that's been meeting to talk about our HHB policy. And this was the source for where those recommendations came from. It was through all these partnerships we gathered input from impacted folks from HHB. And that's what we were using to guide our conversations on that. This was, and I really wanted to give Brooklyn a shout out for this, because Brooklyn was one of our students who, this was the first time that I'm aware of that we've had some high school students go into a 5th grade classroom and try on leading some bystander intervention training. And it was cool to be in the space with them doing it, and they were excited to. This was something that the students wanted to lead, like the high school students wanted to lead this kind of training. So we're hoping that more of that can happen, especially based on the feedback that they gave us, which was that, yeah, as great as it is to have administrators train them, they want other students to actually be the ones to train them. So there's a lot of potential, and I think especially in our continued partnership with Up for Learning. So the third goal was about, having a sustained team to do this work. These are just some updated core responsibilities, some examples of core responsibilities of some of the things we want equity coaches to be doing. Again, they're doing those staff meetings, helping to respond to equity tickets. They have a hand right in helping to implement our policies. So just wanted to share that with you all. And then these were just a few things that we are hoping to continue, right? Again, Up for Learning is a great partner. Like I shared the two, I was with them the last day that they were all together, and the conversations were so awesome. I mean, Larry and Christine saw me after that, and I was just like, she was on fire. So excited because it was like real conversations that also really aligned with the things that we're trying to do, right? So thinking about restorative practices, thinking about interrupting things, like what was, okay, I'm just gonna tell you this one activity that they did had us thinking about what are some of the problematic behaviors that we see in school, and take somebody says a slur, right? And then when you consider it from the perspective of the administrator, or from person who said it, or for the person who was said to, or the people who were just sitting around, it's like what's revealed is like nobody's actually doing anything, right? And it's everybody's responsibility to do something, right? It can't just be, I'm going to blame this administrator for not doing something, or it's like, and then you ask the students, but what are you all doing? So it was helpful to acknowledge how we all have some capacity building and work to do. And I am done. That was just some more opportunities, and that's it. So I will pause there. But yeah, excited about the alignment that's happening.
Items for discussion, followed by motion if needed. BOCES representative.
Yeah, I wasn't here last month, so, and I failed to communicate this to Larry. You are more than welcome to delegate myself as that rep. It doesn't have to be a board member. I am the president of that organization, and I'm at every meeting. So I know David said he would be willing, and he certainly
You can do it.
Yeah. I don't think that was clear. It can be me.
Okay.
So you just have to do that formally. You have to take an action. And
Okay. I will take a motion to delegate to Christine representing our SU at the BOCES.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Please say aye.
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 All opposed? All opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Thank you. Thank you, Christine.
yes, I'm happy to take it. Gotta wait, David.
Resignations.
Resignations. We have, I think we just put that on there in case, but I'm gonna go get my list, but Jen has all the new hires,
Okay,
which is next.
Jen, new hires?
Yes, hello. So we have 7 vacancies in the special ed department, and I have filled 6. So I'll just go through who the positions at each school. So starting at Weathersfield School, Barb Martin is retiring, and so Naomi Goodwin, who is currently a special educator at Weathersfield, will be moving into the paperwork special educator vacancy that Barb has created with retirement. With Naomi moving from special educator to paperwork special educator, that created a vacancy in the lower elementary grades. And so we have hired Shannon Harrington, obviously with all of your approval, to fill a special educator role at the elementary school. Shannon has been an SEI at Weathersfield for many years and is well liked. And so we're excited to have her joining us. She's wrapping up her master's at UVM at the end of May. We have the vacancy that was created by Paul Doron's exit back in January, and currently I've been filling that with a virtual special educator. But I've hired Karen Pryor for next school year, and we're going to do some shuffling around and determine who's going to take on the middle school. But Karen is coming to us from Springfield and has a lot of great experience in the younger grades, and is very excited.
What building is that again?
We're still in Weathersfield.
Okay.
Still in Weathersfield. So Karen Pryor will be joining us and has come to us with some great recommendations. Moving on to Windsor Middle School, Linda Sampson is retiring. She is the 7th and 8th grade special educator. We have hired Taylor French. He's coming to us from Winooski, and he is just wrapping up his program at UVM in May as well. And he's actually going to be here next week, this week, looking at an apartment. So he'll be taking a tour of Windsor on Wednesday when he comes down to check out an apartment. We're very excited. He's a young guy. He's got great math background, so we're super excited to have him join us. And he also came to us with glowing recommendations. Jackie Crawford was the paperwork special educator for Windsor Elementary, Middle, and High School. She is retiring. And we were able to hire Megan Hibbard, who is doing the same position at her current school district and is already doing the job of case managing 75 to 80 students. She's amazing. She's incredibly strong, incredibly knowledgeable with special ed rules and regs, and she's an absolute, we're very lucky to have her joining our team. In Heartland, Olivia Pierce was a special education interventionist for K2. She has resigned or is resigning. She's moving back down to North Carolina. So Amy Cam, who is a literacy interventionist, currently working under Title I, has interviewed, and the team has accepted her to come on over to Heartland and be the special ed interventionist for the K-2 kiddos. And then the last opening I have.
Wait. She's coming over to be a special ed teacher?
Special education interventionist.
Interventionist, okay.
Yep. And then the last opening I have is Donna Hatch. She works at Heartland in the middle school, grades 7 and 8. She's resigning, and that is the one position that I've not yet filled.
When she says resigning, they're not signing their contracts.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, just so you know.
Yeah, not coming back next year.
Okay, thank you. I will take a motion to hire Naomi Goodman for Weathersfield, Shannon Harrington for Weathersfield, Karen Pryor. What?
Oh yeah, Naomi Goodman. Yes, sorry, I thought you said Amy Goodman. Naomi Goodman. Yep.
No. Sharon Harrington and Karen Pryor for Weathersfield. For Windsor, Taylor French. For Windsor, Megan Hibbard. And for Heartland, Amy Cam.
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Abstentions?
I will get those contracts out tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
go back.
you.
Yep, resignations.
Okay, we have one SU employee under title, Mike Duvey, who's not returning, just not signing his contract.
And does Amy Cam officially have to resign from her position, or she also?
She's not signing her contract, so.
For Springfield, yeah. No, she doesn't have to resign.
Right.
She's
She's just, okay, great,
Yeah,
just so I know, so
yeah.
she'll sign and this is good,
Yes.
procedure-wise.
Yes,
Perfect. Thank you.
procedure wise.
Yeah.
And so those, I know you don't have to vote on those, but we did have one paraprofessional at the SU level resign. Jordan Swan resigned due to some personal reasons. And she wanted to thank us for the opportunity, as well as understanding and flexibility along the way. Her request is to continue employment as a substitute, which will fit her needs better. And so she resigned as of March 27th. So this is the meeting that we'll get to accept that resignation.
So,
After the last meeting.
do we have to vote on that?
I don't think you do.
I don't think we do.
But I
She's a
just
para,
wanted-
she's an at will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not at will.
Not at
She's
will,
a
but
paraprof-
she's a
under
paraprofessional. She's not under a teacher contract.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't think you have to vote on it. Just bring it
Yeah.
to your attention.
Well, I wish her all the best, and the fact that she wants to move over to substitution, that's,
Yeah.
that is a need.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. D, AOE graduation requirements. I asked, after some communication, I asked Christine to put this on the agenda, not so much for us to go into depth to it. I just want everyone to be aware of it. Christine and I talked briefly beforehand. It's my opinion from reading through this that it seems like the state is going backwards. And it's concerning. You know, the legislature in the state has moved forward with away from credits and toward proficiency-based graduation requirements. And my feeling is that they're using a federal audit as an excuse to go backwards because they really took their time developing graduation requirements, proficiency-based graduation requirements.
Yeah, like a decade.
Like a decade, yeah. And so my preference is for them to see through it, because that's really that, and alternative pathways is embarking on two things that are, to me, the most important thing in education, and that is engagement in relationships. And by focusing on proficiency-based education and alternative pathways, that encourages that. Having, for example, a required language requirement, it feels like they want public schools to be private schools. And I'm not happy about that, but I wanted to give anyone else a chance to discuss that as well.
One additional concern is we have a fair amount of students who do access the tech center, and for those students to get all of these grad credits. I mean, I know there are ways, and we work with tech centers to try to accommodate, but that has been voiced loudly across the state. But
We have 44% of our juniors, for example, that attend the tech center currently. Sometimes they have embedded credits, so it's not as much a problem. But for example, if math goes to 4 credits, only building trades for the most part, and auto body, we have 5 kids who could pick up an embedded credit in those 2. But it's definitely, I think math is the most dramatic change. Bill, to make perhaps you feel a little better is that our teachers teach to meet proficiencies based on 1, 2, 3, 4. And I know the kids will get a credit out of that, but I'm much more concerned about the instructional practices of redo, retry. When I think about proficiency work, that never give up on a kid. And so multiple trying, multiple formatives, so even though under a credit system. In many ways, it's about the instructional practice and the belief of kids reaching a level of mastery that I think is probably the most essential, whether we call it a credit or you take geometry and learn about the various levels of proficiency. So our current system is dovetailed right into their new language, but not giving up on the indicators that the old system was.
Right.
And I think that that's the best, a great world. I do want to say that 20 out of 48 of our students take Algebra 2. That's only 42%. That probably needs to be pushed up, especially with the 4 credits required. I think we need to really look at a lot of colleges are requiring Algebra 2, including Champlain College. And I just think that we need to encourage a few more students to think about that.
Yeah.
And the other added one is that all kids will take either statistics or what's known as data science, which would probably be a course that has to be developed. The other change in science is that it's got to be physical science or physics. Right now, kids can take physics or chemistry. So that is a change in terms of requirements. Financial literacy, we already put into place. And then, as Christine indicated, world language, it can be ASL credit. So it's not forcing them to have to take a world language. And currently, our kids take a year of Spanish or get a year of ASL. So in terms of these new requirements, quite honestly, I think that Windsor High School is in really great shape. The caveat being a little more concentration on math, which I personally think is needed anyway, a little bit more enthusiasm and encouragement. I will tell you, starting 8th grade algebra kids, those kids go to Algebra 2. So like these pathways of allowing acceleration in 8th grade are really working. 99% of those children go on to Algebra 2. And also a little bit more focus in the sciences on physical science. Other than that, I actually think that the high school itself is in really good shape with the new graduation requirements. So.
But Bridget, my concern here and the reason I brought it here and not just to the Mount Scottney School District, which is the only high school in this SU, is the fact that this will affect, if it is passed, which I hope it isn't, but that's my personal opinion, it will affect K-12 curriculum across the board throughout the SU. And as an SU, we are responsible for that curriculum. If these students have to take these particular courses, then that will affect elementary school or middle school, regardless of where students go to high school. And I just feel it's limiting. It's going backwards from transferable skills. It's going backwards from looking at the fact that content is not king. And content is not the most important thing for students to learn. It is the base, one, how to be decent people, 2, how to function with others, and 3, how to learn how to learn. And so
a lot of industry also is saying we need kids who can come in and problem solve and think critically and communicate and work collaboratively. Those are the, whatever you want to call them, transferable, core competencies, soft skills.
Right.
That's that's what the workforce is looking for. The content, I mean, and Bridget and I have talked about this. Can you embed that in content? Sure.
And it is in our indicators. But so you know what we base our curriculum on, it is.
But those are the skills that people are looking for.
And having the state micromanage course requirements, because the credit requirements are universal across the state, just seems counterintuitive. Does anyone else on the board have anything? I just wanted everyone to be aware of this. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And watch the state board in.
Elizabeth.
Thanks. The requirements are with the State Board of Education now. And so if you have strong feelings about it, tell the State Board of Education, show up in one of their meetings, or write them a letter.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, setting next agenda. We have clicked off a few of the policies. It sounds to me like we're gonna table the equity policy. And get an update on the timeline for the HHB policies. Elizabeth?
Sorry, Bill. It's not about the agenda. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead. You know how much I respect your input.
Well, it should have been at the very beginning of the meeting, but I forgot to say that Friday is Principal's Day and next week is Teachers Week.
Okay. What day is Principal's Day?
Friday, May Day.
Is another day. Are we subbing?
Thank you, Elizabeth. Other agenda items, Christine?
Okay, so I have the cardiac emergency response plan policy. We're gonna revisit. Security cameras, we're gonna revisit. Fiscal management, which is F20 and F40 procurement, and then the HHP timeline. Is that what you have?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I have my report. And then I think because June, we have special ed, CIA with data and director of finance. I'm gonna meet with my team and see who wants to go next month instead.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
can't, so.
You can't.
Because I'm with
data,
data.
Right. So it's either Jen or Larry. So Jen or Larry,
Okay.
draw straws or numbers.
I'll do it.
You'll do it? Okay, so Larry will go next month. Thanks, Larry. And that will spread that out a little bit. And that will, Larry, will you do a follow-up on Rule 100 of that during that report or?
Rule 100.
Yeah, the district quality standards, yeah.
Nothing's changed since.
Okay. So
I
maybe
gave an
that-
update as part of my thing.
yeah, okay. So it'll be Larry next month.
Okay.
So it'll Jimmy. That's it for now. Who knows? Things could change in the next few weeks. We meet earlier next month too, right? Or the 18th due to Memorial Day. Is that what you
Yeah.
all have? Okay.
I might have an update on grant money, so I can just chuck that in as a.
Yeah.
Okay. I am going to make an executive decision on executive session. I am going to table that in lieu of the fact, one, it is now 8 o'clock, and two, Christine is exhausted. And I don't,
Thank you, Bill.
I don't feel it's fair for us to have a executive session to discuss with Christine here while she has
Christine took a red eye last night.
took the red eye last night.
And it was very turbulent, so I
She-
wasn't able to sleep.
So,
That's all. Thank you.
when I got here early with Christine, she voiced the willingness to wait on it.
Okay.
And so I am going to respect that, even though at the time I told her that.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
And the point of that is just to be an executive session and let any of the board members ask questions and make comments on Christine's evaluation. So,
Thank you.
with that said, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Okay. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Hi.